Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America. And you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
I want to welcome in our guests here, Erin Landini Grogan. She is a outpatient therapist, Barber Behavioral Health Outpatient Therapy. Erin, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And also we want to say hello to Dr. Emily Smith, a psychiatrist with the Barber National Institute and with AHN. Dr. Smith, good to see you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Alrighty, so May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's a time to break the silence, confront stigma, shine a light on the full spectrum of mental health challenges. And today we're focusing on a struggle that often goes unseen, which is postpartum depression. Now, again, I didn't know any of these statistics. So postpartum depression affects 1 in 7 mothers, yet remains misunderstood, underdiagnosed. And so today we're going to make it our goal to educate, validate, and offer passive support. And we're going to begin with understanding what postpartum depression really is and why awareness during this particular month matters so much. So, Erin, let's get started here. Tell us about Mental Health Awareness Month and why this is an important distinction here.
So Mental Health Awareness Month, which was established in 1949 to bring awareness to the importance of mental health struggles and issues related to mental health as well as addiction, is captured in that month as well. What we really say is that let's bring out of the shadows those individuals who struggle, because historically, no one talked about it.
Yeah.
No one saw them. It was kind of, families shielded them away. Mental Health Awareness Month brings awareness to the fact that people do struggle, but also that there's help out there and that they need to be treated with that dignity and respect that they deserve.
You said it. The Awareness Month started in the 40s?
1949.
Wow. But when you think about it, generationally,
right,
it's been an issue, right? Some generations, like you say, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that particular uncle,
right,
that kind of thing, right?
Right. That, in the 40s, 50s, even to my grandparents' generation, that was not talked about. That was, oh, he's different, or he's strange, or, oh, that person was in an institution, but we don't talk about that person because we don't want to. It was a very much a quiet, stigmatized situation. In the 40s, it was brought to light, and each year we've seen, more information coming forth. And that's, I think, really important, especially when it comes to postpartum depression as well.
I'm not sure people knew that Barber National Institute had a whole program and wing that's behavioral health.
We
Talk
do.
about that.
We do. So Barber Behavioral Health has services for children, as Dr. Smith will speak to, the acute program, but we also have an outpatient clinic that serves adults who are struggling with mental illness and who are seeking either medication management, and as well as psychotherapy. Both are offered, so they can come in for therapy. There's myself and another therapist there, but they can also see our psychiatrist who's on staff for medication. And there's also mental health services for children, and even little ones, early intervention. So there's a lot offered under that wing of Barber Behavioral Health.
So let's define terms then. What is postpartum depression versus, the baby blues?
Sure.
Right?
So baby blues, really, if you think about women having babies, 80% of women struggle with baby blues. And that's that kind of that extreme, like, emotional distress after childbirth. It differs for each woman. But really, when it becomes more intense or impacts the woman's daily functioning, we look at postpartum depression. So baby blues, that first week or so after you're out of the hospital, your body's adjusting. You're adjusting to bringing a baby home, which is, a big change.
Like a lot of hormones.
A lot of hormones,
yeah.
Right. And then postpartum depression is a much more severe form of that. And when we see women with postpartum, what we're seeing is those moments of depression, just, extreme anxiety, panic attacks, not feeling connected to their child, which we'll talk about later about how that really impacts the family and society as a whole. But they don't feel connected. They don't feel like they're bonding with their child, therefore making them more depressed. They're isolating from their families, maybe sleeping more, maybe not sleeping at all. Symptoms vary for each woman, but it is 1 out of 7 women, and it has a very profound impact on women as well as families as a whole.
So when a woman is really truly dealing with postpartum depression, it's kind of an issue for the family, for the spouse, for the husband, the spouse, the other caregivers, the parents,
Absolutely.
the other children. Talk about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you'll see is, the woman has the baby and everyone's like, oh, they had a baby. This is so exciting. This is so wonderful. And there's all this excitement. And this woman, the woman who has the child, basically is watching this happen thinking, I'm not connected to this. I'm not connected to this child. And then for many women, what comes with that is guilt, because we should be connected to our children, but we're not. So that guilt is also a big part of that. And, for families, spouses, are trying to step in and help. And it's really hard on everyone. It's hard on the other children. If there are other children in the home, it affects everybody, because mom is not her normal mom. She's withdrawn, she's sleeping, she's not engaging with anybody.
Let's talk about who's at risk here, and we'll go to Dr. Emily Smith again. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about postpartum depression?
So one of the things I think is a major misconception is that we're looking at just postpartum depression. And so we actually think of these things as a broader group of what we call postpartum mood and anxiety disorders. And so depression is just one of those. And so I've seen a lot of women basically think, well, I'm not sad, so I must not have some sort of postpartum problem. But a lot of women, it's actually a much larger anxiety component, and it's a lot of worry. And there's even a spectrum of postpartum OCD, which is super common and rarely talked about, where women have what we call intrusive thoughts, which are thoughts that kind of pop into their head that they kind of can't make go away. And it's often with moms struggling with depression and anxiety around a new baby about something bad might happen to the baby. Not that they want to do something to the baby, but like, oh, I'm having thoughts over and over again that I can't get out of my mind that, like, maybe my baby's going to stop breathing. I better check to make sure that he's still breathing. Okay, I just checked, but I went and got a cup of coffee. I better check again. And doing these sorts of things over and over again.
Is that different for the first-time mom compared to maybe the second and third time, or can it happen that onset in subsequent children?
It can happen in absolutely any pregnancy, and some people will experience a postpartum mood and anxiety disorder after only one of their babies. If they have several, sometimes someone will have it every time. People can be fine for 3 babies and then have it with their 4th baby.
Wow.
And so it can really happen at any pregnancy to any woman at any time. Some people are more at risk than others, but it can happen to anybody.
Talk about the biological and the hormones, and again, sleep deprivation, losing sleep is for real for any new parent, right? I mean,
yeah. So people are really being hit at this from three angles. There's the biological angle. There is the we are making a huge shift in the way that you live your life angle. And there's the sleep deprivation angle. So biologically, one of our pregnancy hormones called progesterone actually works on one of the receptors in your brain that tamps down the anxiety response while someone's actively pregnant. And that's not to say you can't be anxious while you're actively pregnant. Plenty of women are. But your body is working against that anxiety with that progesterone, which is great until the day that baby is born and it abruptly cuts off that supply. And so some people's brains just really don't tolerate that crash well, which is often why some women get depressed so hard and so fast very, very quickly. Wow. It tends to come on much harder and faster than other types of depression tend to, because we're really making a big brain change really, really quickly. And while we're doing that major brain change, you are completely changing the way that you have to live your life. You brought home a person who has no rule book. People have no idea how to do that. And you're not sleeping. So you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're trying to deal with this baby. And all of this stuff is happening all at once. And that makes it a really high risk time for people's brains.
We're talking to Erin Landini Grogan and Dr. Emily Smith. It's another Celebrate for What's Different, communications with the Barber National Institute. I'm wondering about how prior diagnoses of anxiety or depression would impact, the likelihood of postpartum.
So anytime that someone has had depression and anxiety or any sort of mental health condition before, it makes it more likely that they're going to possibly get that again. We have just shown that they have a brain at risk. And all of these things are episodic illnesses. So typically when someone struggles with depression and anxiety, they don't have it every single moment of every single day, but they just show us that their brain is at risk for having that sometimes. And this is a really high risk time for people. The highest risk time for a woman to have a psychiatric hospitalization is actually in the year postpartum for any of their pregnancies. And
a year?
A year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The sleep deprivation and things last that entire time. The changes in life last that entire time. It can take a long time for hormones to level out. During that time, there's different hormone shifts. If people stop breastfeeding or decide to, taper off of that, that's another hormone transition. The postpartum period's not just a few weeks. It's a long time. We consider it from birth anytime up until that baby's a year old.
Talk about some of the red flags and how we could bring support to that postpartum mom.
So red flags I see are lack of what I call mood responsiveness. So it's normal for women to cry and have, a little bit of a hard time when they come out of the hospital, but their mood should be reactive to good things. You should be able to feel happy when happy things happen. You should be understandably sad when sad things happen. And if you're not able to feel the joy in things, that's a sign that things aren't going well. If somebody's not taking care of themselves in the way that they usually do, if someone completely stops showering, eating, doing the things that they normally do to care for themselves, obviously postpartum's a tough time. I'm not expecting people to be in their fanciest outfits with full faces of makeup, but typically, people who take care of themselves will still want to take care of themselves. And people should be interested and want to hang out with the new baby and want to show off their new baby. And if they're completely detached, that's a sign that maybe things aren't going well.
This Mental Health Awareness Month reminds us mental health affects everyone. Postpartum depression can touch families from every walk of life, right? So how do we access resources? How do we, plug in? And Erin, we'll go back to you. What are some of the options for help and treatment?
Absolutely. The recommendation that I would make initially is that when you go for that first postpartum appointment with your OBGYN, if you're suspecting any type of postpartum depression or anxiety, speak to your doctor at that point.
Okay, so let me just connect with this, because my understanding, and Dr. Emily, weigh in on this too. The idea is that the especially primary care, but I wonder if OB as well. Are they getting uptrained on markers for depression and anxiety? Are you seeing that now on the OB side?
Absolutely. And so 2 places that someone gets screened for postpartum depression are both at their postpartum visit for the mom going in for her own care. And another place people are being screened for postpartum depression is at the first pediatrician visit for the baby. Because a lot of times moms are likely to skip that postpartum visit for herself, but usually will go to the visit for the baby. So we're way better at taking care of our kids than we are at taking care of ourselves. And so that's a good access point too. The pediatricians are helping to look.
So identifying it right off the bat is the first step, right?
It sure is. And when I treat someone for psychotherapy, if I know that there's previous postpartum depression, probably month 4 to 5, we begin having that discussion in therapy. How are you feeling?
Month 4 to 5. Okay.
Yes. And especially depending on the severity of the woman's depression, we begin having that discussion. Are you talking to your doctor about it? Would you like me to link you up with a psychiatrist? It's that preemptive approach.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so keenly important in treating postpartum depression, awareness, and knowing those symptoms early on. And even for women who haven't had children, I will have that discussion. These are the things I want you to watch for. I may have like a 1-page handout here. This may be helpful to you. Just read it. You get it from the OB/GYN as well. But in that therapy session, I think it's really important to have that conversation.
What about community resources? Is there groups that you can join? Talk about that stuff.
So absolutely, there are, of course, individual psychotherapy. And I know that AHN, and I know Dr. Smith could speak to this, has an excellent program for women who have postpartum difficulties. And it's been recognized, I believe, AHN as a whole for their work in that. I would definitely defer to Dr. Smith on that.
Talk about what some of the community resources are.
So I work at AHN Women's Behavioral Health, and we are a program specifically for pregnant and postpartum women dealing with mental health struggles. We have individual therapy, which unfortunately has a bit of a wait list right now because there's a lot of people seeking our resources. But we also have medication management for pregnant and postpartum women, and that has pretty immediate availability where people can come talk to us about, hey, is a medication something that's going to be right for you for postpartum depression or managing any mental health condition while someone's pregnant or postpartum. I've even had people come to me saying, hey, I'm planning a pregnancy and I know I have a history of depression, anxiety, OCD. Is it safe to stay on my medications? And we can have those discussions either before pregnancy or any time throughout a pregnancy so that people know what their options are.
Are they concerned about, having some meds go to the baby and all that? Or
so that is a concern. But the fact of the matter is that most medications are a risk-benefit discussion. It's not an absolutely, yes, this is 100% fine. It's not an absolutely, no, you can't do this. It's, hey, there are some small risks and there are definitely benefits to your mental health. Let's talk about what sort of risks that you're comfortable with and make a decision together. But the answer is usually not, no, you absolutely cannot stay on this medication. It's, hey, let's think about things together and make a decision as to what you feel more comfortable with.
So let's bring this plane in for a landing and start talking about how we as individuals, me as a dad, as a spouse, maybe a new dad, could be supportive for those that are dealing with postpartum.
Absolutely. First of all, with anyone who's postpartum, if you can take a task off a woman's plate, please take a task off that woman's plate.
Right.
You are not just going there to hold a baby. You are going there to hold a baby and also throw in a load of laundry or bring a lasagna.
Right.
Let someone take a nap because people just need a second sometimes to breathe, and they just need to know that you're there. And so one of the things that I see people do that really concerns me is that people will be like, well, every new mom struggles. You decided to do this. You knew this was hard when you signed up for this. And that's so invalidating because just because other people struggle doesn't mean that someone's not struggling. Of just like, hey, I know this is hard. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want me to, let you know what resources are available? Do you want me to just like sit here and watch the baby while you go take a shower? Like, what can I do that's actually helpful? And make some suggestions, because just saying, hey, what can I do that's helpful to someone who's so overwhelmed? It's like, hey, why don't I make you some dinner? Just giving some options so that somebody doesn't have to sit there, be overwhelmed, and make a ton of decisions.
It sounds like it would be helpful to have like some kind of a checklist or idea starter, conversation starter, especially if you're dealing with someone that's really kind of struggling. Don't you think, Erin?
Absolutely, I do. And what I think is so important, and like Dr. Smith said, is that when you have postpartum depression, everything's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone to say, oh, every woman goes through this, or come on, you can be stronger, you're a strong woman, has nothing to do with that. It's quite simply, you're so overwhelmed and you're so anxious and you're feeling like no matter what you do, it's not good enough. So to have people around you to understand that, but also say, hey, I brought you dinner, or go take a shower. Why don't you and your husband go out to dinner? We'll stay with the baby. All those things are so important, but to bring women that are isolating slowly out of that isolation is, so important. And friends, family, whoever is your support system around you can do that.
Yeah, so you really don't want to be dismissive. You want to help. And again, what's some of those really kind of dangerous things that you should not say?
Sure. I mean, every woman goes through this.
Yeah.
You just had a baby. You should be happy. You signed up for this. You know what happens when you have a baby. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should have thought of this before you had this child.
Wow.
I mean, there are a lot of things that people say is similar to that. Our family doesn't do depression. I've heard, clients say, my mom said our family doesn't do that, but you're doing that. And how are we going to help you? So to just, make this broad, statement that we don't do that completely is so dismissive and just is so hurtful to a woman who's struggling.
The thing I learned immediately is that this can be something that would crop up much later than just immediately after the birth. I had no idea.
Right. I've seen women who have had their child 6 months in, 6 months, baby's growing, baby's healthy, and mom's saying, I don't feel right. Something's off. And then we start exploring, there's, different scales and testing and that, we use in an outpatient setting and have that discussion. What are our next steps?
Well, this has been an amazing Celebrate What's Different conversations with the Barber National Institute on the silent struggle, understanding postpartum depression. I want to thank Erin Landini Grogan and Dr. Emily Smith. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today and sharing this amazing, amazing content, amazing expertise.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
You have been called
to do good,
to feed the hungry,
to love with action,
to be a light in the darkness,
to love your neighbor,
to teach wisdom,
to walk humbly,
to love mercy,
to care for the least of these.
Will you accept the call?
This is our city.
Our mission.
Visit eriecitymission.org/volunteer to accept the call today.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
I am excited to have here in the studio from my left, Easton Bazzoli. He is the men's head coach for the men's basketball team at Gannon University. Easton, welcome. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And we've got Coach Cleve Wright, the women's head basketball coach. Good to see you again, Coach Wright. Cleve, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're a family show. Easton, we'd like to hear your origin story. Where'd you come up? Where'd you play ball? And how did you get involved in coaching? What's that journey like?
Yeah, grew up right outside of Pittsburgh in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania. Went to Seneca Valley High School. Was fortunate to be able to go and play in college at a Division II school in Ohio called Cedarville University. Enjoyed 4 years out there and kind of got straight into coaching from there. So felt like I was being called to coaching after having a sales job lined up, and called him about a week before and said, hey, I'm I'm not coming. And got fortunate to know the right people to be able to get an opportunity, and I ended up being down in Tennessee at a great university called Union University for 6 years to start my career down there as a college basketball coach, and we did some cool things down there. Before heading up here and getting the opportunity to be at Gannon. So, it's all a lot of just being able to be in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people. And, it's been a blessing to be able to have those relationships that, I still think in today's world, no matter what the case is, relationships are just so important. And, the genuine ones are the ones that end up lasting a long time, and at the end of the day, that's why I got to be here right now. So it was just have a passion for the game, have a passion for being around college age men, and want to develop people and leaders, it brings me a ton of joy to be around that.
Sure.
And it just helps that love the game of basketball, and I'm really competitive. So that makes it all the more fun.
Is there ever a situation where a coach is not an accomplished player? I mean, you think about the classic coaches.
I wouldn't say I was an accomplished player. My college basketball career. If you compare it to the right people, I guess you could say heck of a career. But
Cedarville have a decent team? Or?
Yeah, no, for sure. If I was looking at my individual college basketball career, I'd probably be sitting there, and I am sitting here a little bit disappointed in what I was able to accomplish. But
reliving it.
To be honest, it's a little bit of a drive it was a little bit of a drive to get into coaching, because I never felt like I reached the potential I should have, and I think so much of it is the mental game and knowing what the right mentality, confidence, belief, all that stuff goes into. Could be the exact same player with different levels of confidence, and one is great and one stinks.
Wow.
So I just think that. It's still a bit of a drive for me as a coach, because I was a pretty good high school basketball player, and probably went into college with a bit of an ego, thinking I was gonna be a monster from day one, and learned so much in college basketball, and probably took too long to figure out some of the mental side of it. I would say there's a lot of really successful coaches out there that can sit back and go, you know what? I probably wasn't the best player. I could put together a good highlight video, but don't dig too deep into my film, and you'll be all right.
Cleve, weigh in on this, because how much of this game is mental? Do you encounter the ladies, your women players, sometimes just they've checked themselves out, and are not able to perform to their potential?
Yeah. Well, I think I would combine, especially in my case, the mental as well as the emotional. I think there's the mental toughness that you have to have, and the emotional toughness, being able to keep your emotions under control. That certainly plays a part in our game. And you find that very interestingly that maybe the players that you have players that are maybe physically talented,
right,
very skilled, but maybe not as mentally tough. And you might have another player who's maybe not quite as skilled, or maybe not quite as athletic, but mentally tough. And the mentally tough person is almost always going to win out. 90% of this game is the mental and the emotional, and how you handle that.
Yeah. That's remarkable when you think about, because what do we hear? We hear about Kobe Bryant, spending time before the game, time after the game. That whole practice, that. But he's not just perfecting the shot.
Exactly.
He's perfecting his brain, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was his mental. He knew he was outworking everybody. I wasn't a big Kobe Bryant fan. For the longest time. Until he became a girl dad. I guess I kind of figured him out then. I'm like, and I do think he matured in his leadership. He was very kind of self-motivated, a little bit self-centered. But boy, as he got older, I think he really figured it out and was a fan later.
Yeah. Again, we're kind of going all over the map here, but it's good. It's good to talk about these things because we're talking about summer camps and summer opportunities at Gannon and Gannon Athletics, and I want to get there because for the parents that are listening and the grandparents, it's like your kid's gonna learn more than just skills. They're gonna learn teamwork and dealing with that. Maybe there is that hot shot that's on the court, and I thought I was big at my little school and now I'm not. I mean, how many times have you heard that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's not everybody, but the majority of high school basketball players' lives. The most guys on my team were the best player on their high school basketball team, and at the end of the day, not all of them are going to be on the floor playing next year at Gannon. Some of them are going to have some time where they're going to need to figure it out and develop a little bit, and they got to realize that every single guy on the roster almost is used to being in the same position that they were. So I think it's that, but also learning to figure out how to be selfless and put the team first and care about the greater picture as a whole than just what their specific circumstance is. At the end of the day, everybody wants to be the leading scorer on a team and get the postseason accolades and have cool graphics posted about them and all that stuff.
Right.
But I think it's a testament. It's why I love team sports so much, and why I think that it's so important for every kid to be involved in some form of team somehow. Even if it's not with athletics, you got to be involved in some sort of team, because that's life. That's life. You don't get to just live your life. I don't care if you're a work from home entrepreneur. Like, at some point, you have to figure out some sort of relationship building, some sort of battle with adversity, some sort of ability to get uncomfortable and sit in that uncomfortable area for some time if you want to be able to grow and develop. So I think team sports is my personal favorite for it, but I mean it's why I've devoted now my life to it, because I just think it's so important for the growth of a person.
Weigh in on that.
I think I think that's where camp comes in. We're talking about in Easton, and Joel, you guys are talking about maybe the little bit older players and how they may think hey, I can go to Gannon or not, but really summer camp is about the younger ones. And a lot of times we get a lot of people now. I'll have people call me, hey, can I get a trainer for my daughter? And and you got this whole trainer culture out there. And there's nothing wrong with going to a trainer or having a trainer, but when you go to a trainer, you're getting individual work. And to Easton's point, when you come to camp, you're gonna be put on a team. You're gonna have that social aspect and that team aspect that you do not get when you go to a trainer. So unfortunately, I think some parents are sometimes ignoring camps because they think that's the way to go and that's where they want to put their money. But I do think there's a place in a young person's development and get this team aspect, this social aspect that you have to have, let alone the fact that you're going to get a chance to be around college-age players who are living your dream.
Yeah.
Now we got first grade to eighth grade, and then we have some high school shooting camps. We get team camps and we got elite camps and so forth for some of the older ones. But to me, you're laying that foundation with those younger kids. And there's nobody better, in my opinion. I know I'm subjective here. There's nobody better for a young person, a young lady to hang around than my players.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. And I think that benefit of camp, to Easton's point and to that point of having a mentor and learning skills. And I just think there's so many benefits to it.
Yeah, I think like Coach said, I mean, there's value to both. There's value to to the individual training session, but then there's also, I think, a ton of value to being able to go and actually play the game a little bit with other people and be able to maybe work on some of the things that you're working when it's just you and everything's about you, and then you got to go and realize, okay, now it's no longer just about me. How can I take these things that I've been learning and apply it to a group setting? But yeah, I mean, some of my greatest memories growing up were going to basketball camp. I mean, every summer I was just could not wait to get to basketball camp, and I probably went to every one that I possibly could.
Talk about, again, just because I'm ignorant about all this stuff, but it seems like more and more are kind of getting drawn into like the elite travel teams and things like that. Are your teams full of travelers, or did they play high school ball?
You're talking about like a
Gannon,
basketball team?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean in the world today they have to do both. Yeah.
They have to do both. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, very rarely is it a kid that just plays high school basketball, partially because, as college basketball coaches, we have specific times where we're allowed to go out on the road recruiting. And during the high school basketball season, do we get out a good amount to be able to watch kids evaluate and things like that? We do, but we're also in season as well. So there's these spring and summer, events that, people are playing in AAU travel basketball. And, those are huge because that's where we can go and we can see 100 kids in one weekend. And, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the last kid that I had signed that didn't play both. I think it's almost a necessity.
So they are still taking time to play in their high school team, right?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
In the States, it's easy. When you have somebody from the States playing high school and playing travel ball is doable. It's when you go international that maybe it's not quite as good because the high school system internationally is not great. So a lot of them play in a travel situation or a semi-pro situation or something like that.
At what, 16 or something? I mean,
16, 17. Our two Australians on our team, Maddie Wheatley and Mia Slater, both play in NBL 1, which is not the top league over there, but it's the next league. And and I know one of them will do it again this summer when she goes back. So that's good for them.
Yeah. We've got Coach Easton, Coach Cleve here. I'm not sure I've ever had back-to-back, side-by-side, both head coaches of the basketball program at Gannon. Hey, how about that new Highmark Center you got over there, guys? It's amazing.
Really nice. You know what's really hard is when you bring people in there that don't know what it looked like before. They can't really appreciate it. You're bringing a recruit in, you're like, man, this is great. And they do think it's great, but they just don't realize how unbelievable it is.
So do the camp kids have any floor time over there at Highmark there?
Yeah, ours will, for sure. We'll spend a little bit of time with each age group there.
Fantastic. And of course, you do a lot of the work over at the what is that? The student
rec
union?
center.
The rec center, right? All right. So talk about some of the camps. Let's start with the littlest guys first, and then work our way up. So what are some of the things?
I think the big thing is July 7th to 10th. We've got camp coming up. So it's for similar age, first grade to eighth grade.
Okay. So you're in cohorts, kind of thing.
So we'll divide it up into so that kids are with their age groups and as similar as possible. They'll spend time similar with what Coach Cleve was saying. They'll be able to spend time with our players. That'll be some camp coaches that are again, like, they can kind of look up to them and see, hey, this is what a college basketball player looks like. I think again, going back to my years in camp, it was one of my favorite things about it was being able to be around, the older guys that were kind of where I wanted to be. Even as a little kid, you get to be around guys that have done it, and you get to ask them questions and learn from them, while also learning from our staff and spending a bunch of time, either in big groups or in stations. Biggest thing that we want to focus on with these kids is just one, do you have, what it looks like to have joy while you're playing, and to really love the game, while also, getting a little bit better. And the kids that want to make their middle school team or want to, prepare to make their soon to be high school team. We want to help kids get there. And then we'll break out and we'll play some games too. So everybody will be put on a team and try and take, kind of like what we were saying earlier with everybody's got their own trainer and things like that, and that can be a really good thing. But we'll be emphasizing things that we do throughout each day as in station work and skill work, and implementing that into the way that they play in their 5-on-5 games.
Cleve, talk about. Are the boys separate from the girls, or are they okay? How's that work?
His what were your dates again, Easton?
July 7 to 10. July
7 to 10, and we have our camps. We do a couple weeks in June. The first one's going to be June 9th through the 12th, and as I understand it, in our community, Mill Creek and Erie Catholic School System is still in school at that time, so they won't be able to take advantage of that. But we have our we have another camp in August for them. I'll talk about that in a second. But fundamental camp for grades 3 through 6, there's a half-day option and a full-day option. That's June 9th through the 12th. And then in the evening on those same dates, we do for grades 1 through 3, the little dribblers. We do those, and that's 5:30 to 7:30. And the way I kind of liken it to little dribblers is probably 80% fun, 20% basketball. And then we get into the fundamental, and it's probably probably 40% fun, 60% basketball. And then then later on in June, we have a camp that we just started. This will be our third summer doing it. Grades 6 through 8. We call it a high intensity camp, and that's for girls who are really getting serious about basketball. And we do a lot of competitive stuff. We still do all the teaching. And so that has grown tremendously. And so that's June 23rd through the 26th, and that's 9 to 12. And then we do a shooting camp in the afternoon for grades 6 through the 12. And so if you come to high intensity and you want to do the shooting camp, there's a discount for doing both of those. And then
do you do some screening? I mean, again,
teaching screens.
Just like teaching screens. Yeah,
teaching screens.
But no, like you might have a parent there that has an outsized opinion of their son or daughter's capabilities. Are you able to kind of have the honest conversation, or it doesn't really happen that much?
It's too early to have that kind of conversation.
Okay.
I think when you're talking about
I literally had a coach of my 7th grader who say, you're not going to ever play basketball in high school. I mean, just cut him off at the knees. He ended up starting at his small little high school.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is you can have some good conversations with them, because you can say, because one things that we do is we'll challenge the campers to do stuff during camp when they're at home. Like we have a challenge, a shooting challenge, a dribbling challenge, and so they bring it back every day to camp. So they've went home and done stuff. So what we're trying to do is try to create some sort of habit if possible.
Sure.
But the one thing I did want to mention before we moved on was that because of Erie Catholic schools and Mill Creek weren't available, we did add a camp August 4th through the 7th, and that's that fundamental camp again, grades 3 through 6. We just love working with kids and wanting to do that. So and then we have our elite camps and all the older ones. But
it's kind of cool that you're able to have players stick around. Most of the players are not from Erie, so
they come back. Our guys travel. Our guys are gonna. Our guys, most of them will travel to be here, and because I think they remember doing it when they were kids, and remember that impact that some of those older guys had on them. So to be able to come back and they get excited about it, and being around, the community and kind of pouring back in a little bit, but then also get a chance to be around each other again for about a week is a nice thing.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is they come to our games. That's the cool thing is you get that relationship with the players. Now the parents, the campers we have camper days, of course, but then the campers are like, hey, let's go to the game, and so they remember our players. It gives them something to come watch, and then our players will remember them, and so it's a lot of fun that way.
It's cool too, and again, I'm talking out of turn because I don't really know what I'm talking about. But I mean, it doesn't seem like the new rules of college sports, like NIL and transfer portals, are impacting this kind of thing at all, right? I mean,
impacting camp?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
No.
Well, that's good.
No, we're not paying people to come to camp.
That's almost hilarious to you, isn't it?
No, they're paying for everything else, but no, we're not paying them to come to camp.
We've got Coach Easton Bazzoli, the men's head coach for Gannon University, and Coach Cleve Wright, the women's head coach at Gannon. We're talking about summer camps. I want to kind of talk a little bit about leadership and some of the other things here, gentlemen. Again, you think about you bring in people from all around the country. I mean, Cleve, you've talked about going to Detroit, going to different locations. I don't know if you ever get out to the West Coast every once in a while, or
for recruiting. Only if it's a special situation.
Yeah. And they're coming to Erie, PA, to play basketball in our really cool auditorium. Kind of has that Hoosiers in Pennsylvania kind of mode, if you ask me.
Great description. I like that.
I mean, it's got the vibe, right?
Yeah.
And we play in the PSAC, which is a very competitive conference, right? And you're putting all these parts together to create a team for excellence and success. And meanwhile, you've got young people that are growing up, right? I mean, there's just a lot going on in those 4 years of eligibility, and at a red shirt sitting on the bench, they're practicing and whatever, Talk about that. You mentioned team before. It's always great to be on a team, but there's something electric that goes on with these teams. Jump in.
The thing that came to my mind right when you were saying that is, some people who are, if they know women's basketball at all, they would know who Corey Close is. Corey Close is the current UCLA women's basketball coach. They were number one going into the tournament. They made it all the way to the Final Four. They got beat by UConn pretty handily in the semifinal. And in the press conference, there were, I think the reporters were trying to get to see if she would be, how frustrated. They were trying to get her to express herself.
Get her going.
And what she said was, she goes, "I know some of you guys are going to think this is soft." She said, we are going to be on a relentless quest to hang a national championship banner in Poly Pavilion. She said, but banners were meant to hang in the rafters, rings collect dust, but what you are becoming and who you impact will last forever. And that is exactly, to me, she hit it the nail on the head. I've known Corey for 25 years. We were both assistant coaches at the Division I level. And that is, to me, that is my heart as a coach as well. We want to win, no question. But it is the most important thing is who our players are becoming and how they are understanding their impact, not only on their teammates that are within the program, but also to our community. And so we're going to focus on that, and we want to have our players grow and mature, and go out into the world prepared.
And do you feel that do parents and those that are supporting these young kids that are coming up, do they understand that kind of scope, or is that something that they have to learn along with the player? Yeah. Again, there's a lot of learning that has to happen on the parental side. If I needed to learn how to be a good sports dad. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. I think that the best are always, like, there's never a time where they sit there and think I've learned it all and I've got no more development in me. And so I think it's both with players and parents. I think often it's yes, is it maybe a little bit easier to get to a kid that has parents that have the same mentality of, just continue to get better, to work, handle adversity well. Absolutely, those guys are sometimes maybe easier to work with from the very beginning. But it's like what Coach said. I mean, it's about development. You used a word that we use a lot in our program, is just impact. And we talk a lot about impacting winning on the floor. And when we're talking basketball and how it looks like so many things other than just putting the ball in the basket, but also impacting each other, impacting the university, impacting their community, so that they can one day impact their family and lead their family, impact anybody that they come around with, not just being another maybe employee that just shows up and does the bare minimum to maybe not get fired, but maybe never, gets put in that leadership position either. But being someone that knows how to create impact in a positive manner.
Yeah. I feel like you talk about impact, and one of the definitions of leadership is being a person of influence.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody a leader on a team?
I believe so. Yeah, I think that everybody is a leader in some form or fashion. Now there may be guys that are specifically looked to as a leader on any given year, but I'm just a firm believer that every single person that comes through our program should have some form of responsibility felt. That maybe I'm a little bit of a follower in some categories, but if I'm just a follower, I'm never impacting. I just do whatever's going on around me. I'm a firm believer that everybody should have some sense of ownership and leadership over some category of whatever it is. Leadership can look like anything. It's not just the guys that maybe go to the captain's circle at the beginning of the game. It's sometimes it's the guy on the bench that is clearly the most genuinely excited for when a guy makes a shot, and it's not him, and he's the guy that's constantly leading and standing up and applauding, and that stuff's contagious as well. It's the guy that is communicative in the locker room in a positive manner. It's the guy that people can look to and maybe isn't the loudest person, but you can never question his work ethic. And to say that guy isn't impacting and leading in a way that people look at and can follow. I think there's so many different ways. I mean, even we've got guys on our team that I know for a fact lead their teammates. I don't even know if their teammates realize it, but lead their teammates by, hey, this is what being a good student looks like. And they can look at this guy and go, man, he's got good grades. His teachers like him. His classmates like him. When we go to the cafeteria and eat, he's got other people talking to him. It's I don't care how many points he's scoring at any given game. I don't know how many sprints he's winning on a specific time. I don't know how many, if he's in our starting lineup at the moment. But I can think of a specific guy on our team that I know he lives with people that can look at him and they're better students because of him. So
that true student athlete. Yeah, we use that word, but we want to be committed to that concept, right?
Yeah. I mean, So I think everybody has a responsibility to lead. Does that mean everybody on my team's a leader right now? Not yet, but they will be. I mean, they're going to be put in positions where they're going to develop into leaders, whether they want to or not. And I think at the end of the day, the good thing is all of them say they want to, and it's learning what that actually looks like and acting out.
I think in our program, I certainly believe that that's John Maxwell's definition of leadership is influence. And everybody has influence, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so in our program, we really say there's 5 positions of leadership, and I've probably added a 6th, but real quickly what they are is voted leadership is the weakest because it's popularity. So if some people vote for captains or whatever, vote for leaders. We don't necessarily do that. We think leaders reveal themselves, right? So 1 is voted. The second one is seniority. When in other words, if you've been there 1 year, that freshman comes in and you're doing something, they're going, oh, Joel's doing it that way, and he's been here a year. That must be the way we do it. And if Joel's a sophomore, that's influence. If Joel's a junior, that's even more. If Joel's a senior, it's even more. So that's automatic influence. And again, it can be good or bad. The next one would be by position. Our point guards are always going to have influence. They're always going to have influence on how we play, what we look like, what we're doing, how organized we are. So by position, you're going to have influence. And then the two that after that are perceived hardest workers. Perceived not by us as coaches, but by the team. Perceived hardest workers are always going to have influence because they are showing their commitment to the team. So people come in and they go, and as you can already tell, you can hold multiple positions of leadership.
Sure.
When you hold multiple positions of leadership, guess what you have more of? You have more influence. The last one is perceived best players. You're perceived, not by the coaches, but by the players. If they perceive you as one of the better players, and you think about all those things that keep adding up, you have more and more influence. The one that I would add to that, and I think Easton referred to it a little bit, I do think that personality does creep in there. And you always hope that it'll creep in there for a good thing, because some people can have a strong personality, and if it's a negative personality, if it's a bad personality, obviously we're not trying to have a narcissistic personality on our team at all, period. But personality does, when somebody's willing to just say whatever the crud's on their mind, no matter what the situation, that is going to influence some people. But then now your responsibility as a coach is trying to teach people, how do you handle that? Right?
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Do you speak up when you know it's wrong? Do you shrink from it? And so this is that relationship component that Easton and I are talking about. These are what I'm talking about right here is in the responsibilities. You have these positions of leadership. There's responsibility. So now everybody on our team, even a freshman, can be one of our hardest workers. We had some great freshmen this year. They're hardworking. They had influence on our team. And so when you start adding these others, they have more and more influence. So it's just exciting when and if you try to point this out to the players, then they don't feel like they're followers. Like a terminology we use in our program, we'll have primary leaders, or what we call torchbearers. And then we have sheepdogs, which are also gap fillers. And then you have some followers. But maybe they hit one of those positions, and maybe their influence isn't quite as great early on, maybe as a freshman. Man, it just keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. And I think people, I know the people we recruit, and I know the people Easton recruit. These people are motivated. We want motivated people around us. We want people who want to compete, and do it in a healthy way. And so,
is there ever disconnect between what the coaches are perceiving, who's the hard worker, who's the better player, and what the students are perceiving?
Great question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course.
Well, and do you feel like you have to set the students straight, or are they setting you straight?
Well, I think there's two sides of it, and one, it starts with what Coach was just talking about. It starts in recruiting, and if you recruit the right kind of people, you recruit high character, highly competitive people, then a lot of this stuff, there is less disconnect, and there's a lot more that's clear. And I think it's part of our jobs to be able to do two things: have a good sense of what the pulse of the team is, and be on the same page with those things specifically. Who works really hard? Is it something that we talk about? Like, we make sure that we are talking about work ethic, but also, encouraging, saying it publicly in front of the team about guys that maybe are specifically setting themselves apart. And we want that to be difficult to set yourselves apart as a Gannon men's basketball player because of what it is, but also because we love guys that love dragging somebody else to the gym when they go as well. But when there is that, we didn't really have that this year. We didn't have that much a year ago. But I've been a coach on a roster where maybe there is a little bit of that disconnect, where some guys think maybe this guy is worthy of playing a little bit more. What I've found over my time is, the best possible thing is just default honesty. And if you got to sit there and have that conversation, sometimes easy, sometimes very uncomfortable. If the default is just, let's just be really honest, then one, it helps your team and your players start to become a little bit honest with themselves and with each other. And that doesn't mean that maybe the coaches are always right or the players are always right. But truth comes out, and And if we're just looking to be true and to work in honesty, that stuff will figure itself out, especially if you're recruiting high character people.
Yeah. Coach, I got to ask you about the impact of Caitlin Clark on the women's game. It seems like it's a different moment than when you started coaching 20 plus years ago, right? I mean,
well, I think absolutely, there's no question. The spotlight has certainly come out, and Caitlin Clark did a great job of handling that spotlight in a very positive way. There were many times I think she could have went negative. She could have given in to some of the hype or some of the things that are out there that are always pitfalls for people that are in the spotlight like that. And I think, man, she really handled it well. I think she was a really good example to a lot of young kids. And you see how many little girls they followed her everywhere. They followed her everywhere in Iowa. They followed her everywhere at Indiana with the Indiana Fever. And I'll tell you, last year I was able to go to, in her rookie season, I was able to go to the Indiana Fever to training camp, their training camp. I was able to go, and it was just phenomenal to see. I had you see her in games, but then to watch her practice, man, she practices hard, and it wasn't like something that you could tell why she is as good as she is. She just competes every day.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you wonder, the whole be like Mike, be like Caitlin. I mean, it is. It seems like we're in that kind of moment in the women's game. Let's talk what this fall looks like for you guys. You're already probably have game plans in your brain as you who are you meeting first, Coach Bazzoli? Who's first on the roster? You remember?
To play?
To play, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be heading to our...
Who are we playing?
Yeah. Schedule's not completely done yet, but the first game is. So we're going to be headed out to Bowie State for our opening weekend. We'll play Bowie State and Fayetteville State out there. So, it should be a good first opening test. I haven't thought about either of those teams, much at all since signing the contract and saying we're going to do it.
What is that, like a tip-off classic?
Yeah,
kind of thing?
it's they call it the crossover, challenge every year. We try and play two teams within our region, to get the season started in back-to-back days. So, I couldn't tell you a single player on any of those teams. I'm still trying to finish our own roster for the coming year. So, but I'm sure as the summer goes on and we hit the fall, I'll start thinking about them a lot.
Yeah. How about you, Coach?
We actually, I think we've put it out there, and we've done some public, some PR already. But we are actually hosting in partnership with Edinboro, Conference Commissioners Association event here in Erie. The Erie Sports Commission has helped to organize it. Gannon and Erie women's basketball strongly involved. AHN is a sponsor, major sponsor. This will be a preseason event where we'll bring in 6 other teams.
Oh, wow.
Along with Gannon and Edinboro. All 8 teams they've been recruited, they've been in, but every team has made the national tournament this past year. There are former national champions, former Elite 8 participants. It is going to be a big time. It is the weekend prior to the official opening of the season, so it's a preseason thing. It counts in the standings, it counts in your record and all that.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting to have Erie be the host of this. There's teams from all over the country. There'll be different states represented, and so games will be at Edinboro and at Gannon. We're excited about it. There'll be a lot more rolling out. Maybe you'll have me back over. We can talk more once we announce those teams and whatever. But that's a super exciting start to our year.
Finally, how do families get involved with Gannon summer camps in basketball and really generally in athletics there?
Yeah, go to the Gannon athletics website, and you can go to men's basketball and the camps, and it's real easy to find there. We've got it posted all over our social medias and pretty easily accessible online. So pretty smooth to be able to sign up there. And then always, if there's any questions, can reach out to myself, Bazzoli 002 at gannon.edu, or or my assistant Mike Jallis, who's heavily involved in that as well.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, there's what I think we put it on the Facebook or put it on something. The link is on there. You can do. I think it's GannonCamps.com gets every camp at Gannon. Gannon, if you go, as Easton said, if you just go to our website and you scroll around there, but if you've got that link, if you type in Gannon Women's Basketball Camps, something's going to pop up.
Yeah.
And certainly if it doesn't, then go to our website, shoot me an email. I'll make sure you get all your questions answered. We'd love to work with young people in this community. We want to have as many as we can around us throughout the summer.
I appreciate it. Coach Easton Bazzoli, the men's head coach, Coach Cleve Wright, the women's head coach at Gannon University. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Joel. We appreciate it.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.